Coming up on this episode of Courage Over Comfort with your hosts, Matt Logan and Beth Blanchard.
I feel like getting a bigger opportunity kind of is a good reminder and makes you rise to the situation.
Yeah.
But I kind of hate that because we should think that about even the small ones. Some people view it as like a tangible way to measure love. Is like how many likes you get, literally how liked or loved you are when there's a number on it on social media. Like that's really hard not to believe that's a number of your value.
What a fantastic conversation that I got to have and you didn't.
So unfair.
But that's the beauty of the podcast, right?
Yes.
You listened to it.
I did.
Like it's not even out.
And I'm really jealous that I
yet.
wasn't able to be a part of that conversation. But
yeah.
I'm glad our listeners will be able to hear for the first time.
And sometimes, let's just address that right now. I guess this is what I do, like full time.
Yes.
I mean, I dedicate my life to the speaking and
no,
all
we didn't
that.
get into a fight or anything like
Exactly.
that. It just is the way the cookie crumbles.
Sometimes there's going to be moments that I probably won't be in a podcast, and you will be. I'm not sure if that's really logical, but no, I'm kidding.
I don't know how we're going to record it.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll see. We'll cross our bridge when it comes to it.
Right. But yeah, so the podcast that I did with our next guest, I was just the way it worked out. He needed to come and do this at that moment, and you weren't available at that moment, and I happened to be. And it was a great conversation.
It was.
And talked about the wall and what was behind it and some of that. We're going to let him say that in the podcast. But ladies and gentlemen of the human race, please help me welcome Goose the drummer.
The drum roll.
Goose the drummer.
What's up?
Is here in person. Good to see you, dude.
Hey, man.
Yeah. I'm always impressed by your dress, right? Like you always look.
Hopefully, I don't wear a dress.
It's recognizable. Well, yeah, no, not a dress.
Yeah.
The dress, like it's cool, man.
I'm into headbands right now, so
yeah. We've known each other for a little bit, but what was really fun for me to kind of get to know your personality was to watch you on social media. And you were on a tour in, like in China and I think Japan, and you can tell us more. But the thing that was so fun for me was like, I'm going to be there. My wife and I went to China like right after you were there. Yeah.
Dang.
So it was like really cool to see some of that Great Wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Such
absolutely.
an incredible experience. I got to somehow go on tour with Owl City, and we ended up going all around the United States. We had one date in Canada and then went to Japan, Korea, and China, which was it was just like childhood dream come true. I have like nothing bad to say about it. It's still surreal to me. It was such a crazy opportunity. So yeah.
You said you just happened to. So just anybody can play drums for Owl City, or do you have to actually be good?
Be
humble.
I put the
be humble.
No, you got to be me, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, not at all. I do. It was something that's, I don't know. There's kind of the belief of like it was meant to be, or you were meant for this, and then there's the other side of hard work results in good results. So I did went to college. After I graduated for probably 3 or 4-ish years, just grinded. And my dream all grown up was to play drums for a living. And that's what I did right out of college, but self-employed, like didn't use my degree or resume yet, like still haven't. Yeah. And basically just said yes to every gig, every show, every church service, everything I could get my hands on to play drums at. I was all in, and I put a lot of work and did my best in every small opportunity. And that kind of led to a reputation and a lot of connections and a lot of good impressions on people that one of those ended up resulting in kind of a bigger opportunity, which it just kind of spirals from there. And then I have credibility for other things now. So I put the credit, I think, to just giving it your all in like the small things, the daily life, what am I going to do today affects tomorrow. So,
it's perpetual motion, right? Those little things added up to that big thing with Owl City and the tour of a lifetime, as you've worded it to me in the past. And it's, absolutely. You just keep plugging away, you know, step by step and making the best of those small opportunities and certainly using those for leverage.
Yep.
You're a big deal now. I mean, I mean,
I hate to be like, man,
right?
I'm a big deal, but
you know, and I appreciate, and I mean that in the sense of like what you do is a big deal too. In other words, you're helping people. You're not charging people for some of the help that you're throwing out there and tips and things like that. And I'm like, that's impressive.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah,
you know, it's about people and relationships and giving and not that if you give you will receive more, but in a way I really do believe that you do kind of receive more, maybe not physical or financial things, but like just the fulfillment from giving is like always comes back, and I just rather live a happy life like that. So I think
nice. Yeah, and we do need to eat, which looks like you could use a sandwich or a pizza, maybe a pizza.
I've been working out and eating a ton, so I'm like, I'm still trying to thicken up a little bit and by the muscle areas. You know, but working on it. So
just follow my diet, you'll gain weight.
Okay. What diet is that exactly?
It's pizza.
Okay, I can do that.
And pizza.
All right.
And usually some more pizza.
Okay, that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I'm assuming?
Well, yeah, sometimes I don't. I just have coffee for breakfast.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't get on that train. I'm good with water. Maybe that's why.
No.
And now a quick word from our sponsors.
Maple Springs Campground is sponsoring today's show.
Love this place.
Isn't that great?
Christmas in July they're talking about, but what about like actual July and Christmas? That's what we need to figure out.
Yeah. Can we do that?
All year round they have stuff going on, right?
Yeah. There's an event coming up, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but a campground in Minnesota. It's a summer thing, and they have an event in January.
Why wouldn't you?
Isn't that great? They're creating a community.
I love that.
Yeah. And so they also, what's unique about them is they have this place in the campground for horse people. And like they're like a whole people, right?
They are.
My
they
mom's one of those
group.
people. She's actually camped down there with her horse. Wow. So they have this area set up where you can have horses. That's a good question. I'll have to ask. I'll get back to you on that.
We'll have to look.
Right. But what they do, they have great hiking and fishing, actually trout fishing, like it's known trout fishing down there.
Love trout.
And Maple Springs Campground has Sunday worship services from, what's that big holiday, Memorial?
Yes.
From there all the way to Labor Day, all summer.
You don't even need to leave.
You don't need to leave.
It's fantastic.
There's a great store there. They
Everything you
have
need.
tenting. They have full RV hookups.
Love that.
And seasonal.
Like
you
totally
can
would
park
be the
your
RV guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone was just telling me what they did this summer about tenting, and I'm like, I like running water in a shower.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the RV myself.
Yeah. But if you don't have an RV, they have showers free.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
So
Wi-Fi.
You don't smell.
So if
you get your church.
Yeah.
You have a lot of fun. I mean, volleyball, the dog park. Like, you never need to leave.
Exactly.
Love this.
And there's this little playground. I've possibly played.
You're the reason they have signs.
They have signs because of me. Absolutely. But it's like some of the people that are there, the seasonals, they talk about the ponies that are there. There's two cute little ponies. Like they're starting a petting zoo or something, I swear. I don't know.
It
Not
sounds
really,
like it.
but
We got
it's
dogs,
really cool.
horses, ponies. What else could you possibly need?
Well, trout fishing, like I had mentioned before, there's a lot of people that go down there for that. So you need to eat.
This is true.
So
I could go down there, set up shop, and just meet the people that have the dogs and the trout, and then
maybe even borrow a horse for an afternoon.
I don't know. It sounds like a fun idea, though.
Maple Springs Campground, look them up.
Yeah, let's get booked already for summer.
Give them the website.
What do you got? We got maplespringscampground.com. That's maplespringscampground.com. You can call them if you're one of those type, 507-951-8876. That's 507-951-8876.
And again, thank you, Maple Springs Campground, for believing in what we do.
We love it. Can't wait to be there.
KFG Coaching is sponsoring this episode of the podcast.
It's sponsoring the podcast and really people's lives that's what she does.
Absolutely. She is a mindset coach.
Yes.
Krista is her name. And incredible person.
Totally amazing
yeah,
person.
I've been able to chat with her several times, and I love that she is able to bridge the gap, right? When you go into a business, employees don't really want to talk to HR about certain things because that's within the organization.
Right.
And she bridges that gap really well, like extremely well, between the employees and like in HR departments.
Yes, absolutely.
And just brings out what some of the issues might be or whatever else. It's one of the talents that she has.
Communication wizard.
Yes.
That's totally what it is. And bridging the gap is like putting it lightly, but helping to get people on the same page, feel comfortable talking to her and relaying that information to the other side with intentionality and, really good communication. I think it's a win-win for everyone. And
in a
great
respectful
resource.
way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's not like you did this wrong or you did that wrong or whatever else. It's actually just finding good solutions.
Right.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Your employees are more productive. Your business is more productive when you get some of that out of the way. That's exactly what she does. Makes all that smooth over, gets people back on track.
Exactly.
It's perfect.
And what's great too, because she's like a business coach. She also is a certified trainer. Like this is what she does. And she has a lot of, what I really love about it, she has a lot of personal experience that she brings to the table, right? She's not just one of those people that runs her business from the outside and just says, this is how you do it.
Do as I
she
say.
has exactly. She has that experience, that personal experience to really make that happen and work and bridge those gaps that we talked about. But she also does personal coaching, like people all over the world.
And it's the experience and the trust that you can get with her. Not just get, but you feel right away. And I think that's the impact and the change that opens the doors for businesses to be more successful and people to be more successful because they have someone to guide them.
Absolutely.
For sure.
We need to look her up. I want to look her up.
You've got to go, internet, wherever you are. Hit up kfgcoaching.com. She has got all of the information that you need to get to where you need to go and get connected with her from a business or personal standpoint. Either way, it's a good investment.
Yeah. I'm thinking I might contact her.
Right.
Yeah.
Get over there,
It's brilliant.
kfgcoaching.com. That's all you need to do. She'll take care of the rest.
Thank you, KFG Coaching.
Yes, we thank you, appreciate you, and wish you the best of luck with all of our listeners here.
Absolutely.
And now, back to the episode.
So I appreciate you being here, and like this is a pretty big deal for me. I don't know if you realize that. Like you're a pretty big guest.
Happy to be a part of this.
What I appreciate and why I say that is like what I see and what I've we've toured together, kind of briefly and things. I as a speaker, you as in the band, and you guys came and helped at an event that I did, and
it's so cool that's how we met.
Yeah, exactly. It is,
and here
it's
we
really
are
cool.
doing our thing,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, separate but together, right? And
Yep.
we're helping each other. I hope I can help you at some point in the future, right? But
Absolutely.
I just have really appreciated your attitude and you're willing to help, and obviously, like I say, you need to eat, so I've paid you to do some things in the past too. But it's I can't remember, someone worded it, and a lot of people have worded it, but when your tide rises, everyone's ship around you goes up, and that's what I see you doing. And when you do put that out there and you do give and give and give, then you'll get that back. Like it gives you some self-esteem for one. You're getting that affirmation of what you're doing is good, which I'm giving you right now.
I appreciate
and that
it.
helps
I'm taking
you,
it in.
right? And that just helps in life. And so that's what you're doing. That's what I see you do, and I appreciate that a lot from what I watch and see. So
thanks so much.
Way to go, dude.
It means the world.
Yeah. Now we can end.
All right.
No,
done.
I'm kidding.
All
I'm
right.
kidding.
It's been great.
Yeah. Tell me about Asia, though. I was that's cool. Like they don't speak English.
It was crazy.
That's the first thing that popped into my head when you said, "Hey, I'm going to be going on tour in Asia." I'm like, "What? They don't speak English?"
Yep.
Huh?
That was the craziest thing. Fortunately, almost the whole time we were in Asia, we had a promoter or two.
Okay.
Like an agent based who literally would go on like the flights with us, travel with us. They were in like a a hotel room next to us, like to help translate, to help
Sure.
us with travel. Like the airline communication was probably the hardest with like when you have like 24 road cases, like, like you have to travel with all these like lighting and instruments and technology and guitars. Like it's just kind of a nightmare that a lot of people don't realize, like those logistics go into it. So that basically solved the language barrier, just having someone with us, but that comes at a cost too. So but man, the culture, I believe we had 10 shows within like 30 days or so there was a ton of time. Basically every destination we were at, we at least had a day or two to like travel and just explore and just have fun. In Japan, I have to say, was like captured my heart. I love just the people and how they honor each other. I mean, even just if you buy something, like they would hand you like the receipt with two hands. It was so honorable.
Well, for you to even notice that's pretty remarkable.
There were so many things. Okay, I'll list a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
It rains all the time. We were in Tokyo, and it rains all the time there. And everyone had like these cool, trendy umbrellas. It made me feel so dumb in America. I'm like, man, we're so lame.
Black.
I know. Just, whatever gets the job done. But I saw countless people before they walked into a store. We were kind of downtown, probably touristy Tokyo, which I totally understand. I may not have had the true experience, but regardless, I did see a lot of people just treat people with respect and honor one another. So like before they'd walk into a store, they'd like wring out their umbrella, put it in a plastic case, wipe their feet on a rug, and then go shop. And it was just like, that was inspiring and refreshing to me. That's how we should treat each other. Store owners that we have nothing to do with or don't know their story or anything. Like we should treat people's property and just treat people with honor and respect. And I think like they're just in such a great group culture where they all honor each other, and it's so quiet there too. People don't make noise. People don't yell on the streets. Like there's so many things you just don't realize. It really takes like being there to realize it. So
you can't see that on TV and movies, right?
Nope.
Yeah, that's cool. That's I didn't realize that either. That's pretty wild. So what popped into my head was like when you see those things, obviously it's automatic for our minds to kind of go to the negative and what we see sometimes in ungrateful people. But I think that that society, like you said, it's kind of a group mentality, right?
Totally.
Like it's not just about themselves, whereas we are so like selfish, I think, in our country as a whole. That and they don't seem to be. I mean, I already knew that, but really hearing it from you is like that's affirmation.
Hopefully it confirms it. It was amazing.
That's pretty wild. So we can definitely learn from that. It sounds like
totally.
Like I can, like you and me.
And another thing that comes to mind is like the litter. There was like no litter. You don't see gum on the streets there or anything. It was very, very inspiring. So
does it? That seems to be maybe then a respect thing, right? Like not just they respect themselves probably first. Which then if you can respect yourself, you can respect other things and other people. Is that, how would you define that? I'm still kind of wondering what got their culture to the place it was. And how can we apply that to our culture and start changing that? And I think it starts with the individual. It starts with you, back to what can you do like today, just worry about today. So I honestly don't know what got them there, or if it's been a centuries ago type culture. But or maybe it's been a leader they had, or a family culture shift or something. I'm not really sure, but man, am I inspired by it, and I love it. So that's cool, really cool. It is very different to. I've traveled to a lot of different countries and stuff. Not a lot, but I that sounded pretty impressive, didn't it?
I know you travel like all the time. I feel like anytime we've contacted, you're like, oh, just hopping off a plane here.
Right. But what you always try to like soak it in, and then what can we apply, right? And that I like that thought process and mentality and things. I think that what I see in the people that I deal with, when you said, what can we do, right? And you said it starts with yourself. I've done a lot of distracted driving work for the last 7.5 years, tons and tons of it. And I get messages all the time and students and parents, and what can we do? What can we do? We want to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing in your school? Or what are you doing in your home? Or what are you doing, with yourself? What are your own habits, or what, and it's like, we try to reach for all these big things before we just reach for what's in front of us.
Yeah. Like speaking to 8,000 people in an arena or something, when you can just talk to your mom.
Yeah.
Even
exactly.
Hey mom, you shouldn't be texting right now.
Yeah.
Or,
and I don't mean that we have to go down that road, but what the philosophy that I think that I'm hearing from you is, when we start with ourselves, that's the closest we can get.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And we have to start with that. Like, what are my habits? Am I being respectful? Am I putting the umbrella away? Am I wiping my feet?
Totally.
Things like that.
I think just leading people through something too, I think that's the best way to do it, is lead by example rather than telling them to do something.
Yeah.
Just show them, without ever even bringing something up, you can show by example. And I want to be led by people that work harder than me, to be honest. I'm going to try and not let that happen and work harder than them, but that's who I want to work for. That's who I want to work with. People working harder than me, who really take it seriously and push me to be better. So I think leading by example and doing it yourself first before you tell others.
Yeah. And that is the definition of a leader, isn't it? I mean, that they're actually out there doing it. They're not
as it should be.
A boss or a manager or whatever you want to say is kind of pushing people along generally, but a leader is like, hey, I'm out here.
Yeah.
Come along if you want.
It's been swayed sometimes though with maybe just the business mindset too of like CEOs. Now leadership looks different in some businesses, in some situations where they're just, managing a group of people rather than like leading a people in what they do. You know what I mean? So
and I, for sure. And I don't think there's a place for both, right?
Definitely.
Leadership and management are very, very different.
Yep.
And management is, and I'm trying to remember, I think Stephen Covey is who said it, but he's like, a leader tells the management team that they're in the right forest, right? Like, if you don't know if you're in the right forest, and then, the management can be hustling and, trimming trees and doing all these things and making this forest look beautiful, but the proper forest is 100 miles away. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And I think that's the difference between leadership, and I'm paraphrasing it, but I think it was Stephen Covey that said it, that. Like, hey, you got to make sure the leader says we're in the right forest. Here's what we're doing in the forest.
That's a great way to put it.
This is the right forest.
Yep.
Right? Like,
totally.
Yeah, the big picture kind of deal. Yeah, I love it. What was your really favorite, like, personal thing going on tour on something like that? It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. There's a lot of directions I could go with this.
So let me say this. I want to.
I have like a bunch of things coming to mind right now. Yep.
I'm gonna be specific. I saw your picture of the Great Wall, and that's not on the tourist part of the Great Wall.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the picture.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the picture and I'm like, he is not.
Okay. So there was.
And that's okay.
Yep. So we did go to the touristy part of it, but with a bunch of creative people, and just, I was surrounded by so many cool people on that tour. Like, if there's an opportunity to go, the road less traveled.
Yeah.
We may or may not have explored a little bit, some different paths,
Nice.
So
I love it.
We found it was like a little side part of the wall that clearly wasn't, all touristy, that we thought would be a super cool spot to see. So
it was cool because I saw there was like things overgrown and things like that.
Which I didn't realize. From never being to the wall to being to the Wall of China, like, you just think of it what you always see, which is the touristy people all crowded on it. But the reality is it's thousands of miles long. Yeah. It's super overgrown. And even like very broken down and cracking and decaying in many spots too. It's just a reality of it that so many people don't see or go to, and that was kind of a big reason why we wanted to see the touristy part, but also see some of the like, this is really what it's like.
Yeah,
see the truth of it. So.
It's kind of like life, isn't it?
Totally is.
I mean, there's parts of life that are broken down and decaying.
Yep.
And there's parts
there's
that we
Instagram.
let everybody see.
Yep.
Exactly.
Totally.
Yeah. Not that the decaying parts are a bad thing, but just the being real, I think, about it.
Absolutely.
Is what's so important.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah. So what I kind of pointed you in that direction, but what's your...
Oh, I've got so many things. My favorite, like you had mentioned, kind of like my favorite personal touch to tour, or personal thing was like just growing. I mean, living literally like we had 2 legs of the tour. One was like the Asia leg, which was all flights and like hotels. But the first leg was all on a bus. So there were 11 of us on a bus. And the bus seated 12. So we had one junk bunk, they call it. And it was basically the band and crew, plus like the opener. So Matt Thiessen and the Earthquakes, he's like the former singer of Relient K, was the opener, and he had this guy named Robert who played trumpet, who was hilarious. And like
trumpet players are hilarious anyway.
Oh, he
right?
was. I suppose in general, yes. But like I don't know, just living that close quarters with people, like literally, I don't know if you've seen tour buses. It's a pretty standard format, but like the bunk is like 2 feet high or something.
Yeah, like I'd barely fit.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm
right?
6'2", and I swear they build those things like 6 feet long. So like I had to sleep diagonal every night. I struggle with that. But, I just felt like such a family. Like brotherhood is kind of maybe the right word for it. You just see all the little things every day. People start caring for each other, and a lot of us went through sickness too, because if one person gets sick, it goes through, and like just taking care of each other. Yeah, and that was a huge part of it. And then the other personal like favorite thing for me was I have so many extended family members that I was able to see, and so many friends around the country that I never get to see, and like being able to throw a free ticket their way, or invite them to the show and like meet so many people that I haven't seen forever, and like family, and that was like truly special. And I felt so much love and support from people coming to see me, because going to shows is not always a selfish entertaining thing. There's aspects to it. You gotta like sometimes buying the ticket, like parking, blocking off time, it's time that you could be working. There's opportunity costs. Like there's a lot of sacrifice in going to a show too. So it really support local music. Musicians work really hard, and it's not an easy thing. And like think of all the time they put into preparing the music too.
Absolutely.
That's not time they're paid for.
Absolutely.
And all the time, like renting lights and gear and programming, all that, and people, someone's losing money by spending time on that, So I think it's just an awesome thing when we all come together and like celebrate a night or a show. But I just view it more as like a celebration all together, like just celebrating each other and being together. So
So was it all sunshine and roses?
No.
Because you get that kind of close quarters and that long, and you don't have to be specific by any means, but it's, I guess the point is like, hey, you're painting a pretty nice picture. Where's the decayed part? Right?
There were a few like arguments here and there, but like at the end of the day, we all loved each other, and really, to be honest, like it was such a smooth show, or not show, tour, where everyone just really did get along. It was seriously that family, like brotherhood feel. I can't even think of like any specific like train wreck of emotions and everything. The worst things that happened were just things that happened to us. Which I was so inspired by Adam. He's basically Owl City. What was it? Yeah, I think it was the Denver show. We literally, so how it works, we play a show, we hop back on or some of us shower, some of us don't, hop back on the tour bus, and there'll be like a bus call time, and then we like So if the show's, goes to like 10 or something, then bus call will be like midnight, so make sure you're showered. Everything's got to be packed and good by then.
Yeah.
And you got to be if you miss that time, not cool.
Yeah. Right.
Because you're letting everyone else down. And so, yeah, you make bus call, then you all go to bed, basically. And the driver has like the opposite sleep schedule of everyone else. So he drives through the night. So it's like amazing. You go play a show, you go to bed, you wake up in a new city, explore for the morning, sound check in the afternoon, and then show at night, and then do it again. So
yeah,
that didn't always go smooth. Like in San Francisco, the transmission on the bus went out, like 5-digit fix for that, but we were renting, so it wasn't a big deal. But there were just so many things like that was like we had to get a new bus. So then your little home that you're comfortable in, you got to just transfer everything to a new bus. That was a big one. And then Denver was a little messy, just logistically, of things that happened to us. And this is why I'll bring it back to how Adam inspired me. He basically, the weather, apparently while we were sleeping, this was all happening for the bus driver, that poor guy, like driving alone. We'd always try to pair with them or have someone hang out with them just to, keep them company. But he had to drive through this insane storm. And I think it was in Montana, where they just straight up closed the highways because it got so dangerous, like with drifts, and like it's just too much road to plow and cover. So he had to turn around literally and drive like 4 hours backwards then of what he had just driven, and go like a completely different route to Denver. So we were we weren't like, we got to Denver later than we expected. So with all the necessary setup, like we had to postpone the show. Some people like didn't get showers or I didn't get to shower that day. Like there were certain things, it's like, but the show must go on. We made it happen. But I was so inspired by this, and this, like, I don't remember the exact words. It doesn't even matter. But Adam tweeted something along the lines of, well, I guess America had different plans for our show in Denver today. Like, or guess the weather,
Yeah.
And that just like inspired me so much. Like so many people you would picture just being bummed and so like,
Right.
Crap, the weather's like so sucky. And now we're gonna be late. Are people gonna get in all right? Now people have to wait outside longer to like get in. Is it like just freaking out, all this stuff? It's like, no, it just had different plans. We'll make it happen. Yeah. And like just he had that attitude, has that attitude still, and like that's inspiring to me. And he was like, going back to the leadership thing, like he was an amazing leader to really drive it through. And I don't even know if he realizes like those little things he does make such an impact on not only us, but the whole mood. Yeah. And I think it really unified us and makes the whole night a celebration together. So Denver was amazing then because of it. Yeah.
Unification is obviously extremely important in your situations, right? Like you have a group of people like that. So whether it be like a movie or TV, the director, or in this case, Adam, he's the leader, he's the director. And that's important. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah. It's inspiring and just, makes me want to take those things that I love that he does and apply them to myself and apply it to today.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember, and you can, pass on this kind of point. I remember you saying to me once personally that, I asked you what your generation as a whole kind of struggles with. Do you remember this conversation?
Faintly.
So, I asked you some very specific questions of some people that I was working with and trying to help get through some situations. And I was trying to understand like your age group.
Like the mindset of millennials kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Like what...
I do remember this a little bit now.
And you had said that you feel like loneliness is one of the things. And I don't know specifically if that's the way you feel, but where I'm heading with it is do you know why that is? I mean, you guys, like, I hear your story and you see the Instagram, like you mentioned, and all these things, and there's TikTok, and there's millions of followers, and there's all these things, and then you hear about how lonely people are in your age group. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Completely.
Yeah.
I think there's a straight up direct reason for it. And I don't know what it was like in the 80s or I was born in 93.
What are you smiling for?
I'm trying not to call you old, man.
Yeah, right. What are you smiling about, dude?
But 70, like I don't know what it's like back then, but I do know that like technology was not where it is today.
Correct.
And like with the crazy surge of social media and Instagram and everyone wanting to be an influencer, myself included sometimes, like I think everyone has a little bit desire, because it's almost like some people view it as like a tangible way to measure love, is like how many likes you get, literally how liked or loved you are when there's a number on it on social media. Like that's really hard not to like believe that's a number of your value and whatnot. And the reality is when you turn off your phone, like then you're there and it's just you, and I think if that were all like completely removed, like it maybe were in the 80s or whatever, which I don't fully know, but I'd like to believe it was like that. I think that'd just be such a more like,
you ever seen those
community?
You ever seen those
together.
Phones with cords on them?
Oh yeah.
You know what a cord is?
I do know what a cord is. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not to say that, like, I also think social media is a beautiful thing. And that's what
agree.
has kept me connected with all these people that I was able to invite to a show, because,
Yes.
like, I think we need to be careful on where we find our value and not overemphasizing likes and love and from a screen. I think
Absolutely.
it's so much more important, like, in person, face to face like this, which I really admire how much you emphasize, like, face-to-face interactions, which I think you've mentioned about like the podcast is like something you really want to continue.
I mean, there's different locations. You mentioned Denver. I was on a plane last night.
Not surprised.
Texting, technology again on a plane. Here I am texting, right?
Yep.
And I'm texting like 3 or 4 different guests that I'm working with and lining up and scheduling. And one's in Denver, one's in Detroit.
Dang.
And so we're not going to do Skype.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
which it comes at a cost.
I'm going
You're
there.
sacrificing to do that.
Yeah.
Which is
I'm
inspiring
going
to me.
there
Yeah.
to sit down face to face.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that compliment and affirmation, because I think that is so important that we're missing the face to face. Now I see people doing, and especially like your age group and younger, is the face to face is that phone, right? Or a camera or whatever.
FaceTime even. And
that's their face to face.
Instagram stories and just
exactly.
Totally.
But then you don't see the decaying wall, right?
Yep.
You don't see the other parts. And I think that when you're okay with yourself, when you understand where your value comes from, you have to understand that there's decaying parts of your life.
Yep.
Right?
Totally.
And if you are trying to avoid those all the time by posting just the beautiful hair that you have and all those other things.
Why, thank you.
Exactly. And we think that's where the value is.
Yep.
Dude, I don't wake up looking this pretty.
I'm with you, man. I brushed my hair today.
Right?
Yep.
So what I'm saying?
I completely agree.
I appreciate that you saying that, and you are an influencer, and I think that more influencers need to say that and understand the importance of that decaying wall piece.
Yep.
Right?
Completely.
Like, I don't. I had a conversation with this. I don't put. In fact, the next podcast that airs, it's being worked on right now, and it's going to be airing soon. But that particular podcast, we kind of go down that social media path and things. But I don't put my decaying wall up on social media, and I explain it there. But briefly, the reason I don't do that is because that's not what I believe. And what I mean by that is I do my best, and I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I do my best to keep that decaying wall as repaired as I can.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yes, it exists, but that's not my focus.
Totally.
know,
Focus on the good and drive for that.
Yeah, and just get rid of that negative space and things. And sometimes by getting rid of that, I mean we got to repair it.
Totally.
Focus on that solution mindset rather than the mindset of this is a problem.
Yep.
This sucks. Yep. Guess
and
what?
still acknowledging that it's there, though.
Exactly.
But dealing with it rather than hiding it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have a flat tire right outside.
Actually, right now.
Actually, right at
Dang.
this moment. And it just doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's 3 other good tires.
See, I think of Adam right now going, well, guess my tire had different plans for my
That's
day.
right.
Like, oh, well,
Exactly.
Goes on.
Yep. And so you just repair the tire.
Yep.
And you don't. It's a flat tire. So what? Mm-hmm. That happens.
There's so many worse problems.
Well, even if it is a worse problem,
Big deal.
How do we focus our energy and attention in our mind space? We need to focus it on the positive and things like that. But understand that you have flat tires.
Yep.
It's just the way
it's gonna happen.
It is totally going to happen.
Until technology continues and we don't anymore.
Right.
Which I hope for.
Well,
Maybe that's a millennial in me. Like, let's innovate.
Exactly. Well, actually, I just saw the other day this on a forklift, in fact. And I don't even know where I saw this forklift, but I just remember I'm like, wow, that forklift has a tire that won't go flat. I mean, it's
Is
like
it like
they
solid
make them
material?
Well, there's like it looked like right next to the rim, and I don't know. I was walking or something, and so right next to the rim looked solid. And there was like these holes in it. Like if you're listening, I'm holding up my hand, showing a hole, right? So you can't if
For
you're not on YouTube,
not watching. Yeah,
that's right. If you're not on YouTube watching, but so there's these holes like through it. With solid pieces, obviously, in between it, and then another solid layer on the outside.
Okay.
And if I had a piece of paper, I would draw it for you terribly. But so it was like a solid core and then some space in it. So I imagine that provided some of that how an air tire is cushion.
Yep.
Maybe just a little bit.
A
little bit of give. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And there it is, the technology that has tires that don't go flat.
It's on its way. I believe it.
I should go look for forklift tires.
You should. I don't know how that's going to go at high speeds, but
yeah, they're usually pretty there's no tread too. In the wintertime it might be a little rough.
Yeah. It's not for Minnesota.
Yeah. So you have you're in all these places, and do you have anything like negative that you've learned from, like, hey, I'm going to try not to do that anymore? Like, I for myself, over the years, I would get angry pretty quick, like at something or a situation before I would understand someone, or, so I try to listen a little bit better because of the things I've learned. Are there like a tour like that's intense, right?
Yep.
Like there's a lot of intense things happening, like the Denver weather and all those other things. Is there any of those moments like, hey, I am not going to be this way anymore?
Yeah, there was, kind of a big one for me. This just feels so silly, and there's an aspect of this I never want to change about myself, but get me in front of the right group of people, I get wild and immature and just crazy, and I just say what's on my mind, you know? Or it's like the child in me that just loves, like, takes a certain environment, though. You don't act that, you're crazy. So I shouldn't say immature or any negative things about it, but just like when you're so comfortable, you'll say anything that comes to mind with that, closest group of like that you have of your people, where you can just like totally be yourself and not worry about it.
You do know, like there's a study that's come out, I think fairly recently even, that this study says that the youngest child is the funniest child. Like there's proof.
Really?
Totally.
Let's go.
Yeah, like there's significant.
I'll take it. I'm the youngest, so
there's
oh my gosh.
There's significant proof.
You're making me feel good today. So thank you, man. But I found myself, or the Owl City opportunity came, and I'm like, okay, this is a big deal. I got to step up like my maturity. I just felt so much pressure from it. I'm like, I don't want to lose this. I love this so much. This is like a dream come true. So I took all these steps. I actually got the Owl City opportunity before I dove into like the light up drums, because even like probably an insecurity of myself too. I'm like, I don't know if I'm qualified to do this. There's so many other people that are, more skilled at drumming than me. Maybe a more prime age
older?
To do this.
There it is.
I didn't even say that. I guess probably. Yeah, I was the youngest on the tour too, so I felt like kind of a lot of pressure to like, if I don't perform, if I'm not excellent enough, like in all these areas.
Here's your plane ticket home.
Yeah. I was kind of scared about that the whole time, and so I took some actions. Like that's when I learned to solder and like did this whole lighting up my drums thing, because I wanted to just add. I'm like, what can I add to be more than a drummer? And
we were on
make
a bus.
Everything smooth.
We were on a bus together. Remember this?
Yep.
And you're on your computer, like
programming lights for the drums.
Like, I got to get these programmed before the show.
Yep. And that was just like one.
And that
thing.
was right before Owl City tour, the big tour.
Yep. And that was still kind of in like my beta. I'm like testing, figuring out this whole light thing, trying to make it work. And
it worked.
I was so stoked about it. Yeah, it was so fun to bring that to the table. But that, like, looking back, I'm like, man, my reasoning for doing all that probably wasn't the best. It was part like of just insecurity, just being like scared that I wasn't enough. And I wish, like, looking back, that I would have like believed in myself a little bit more, and not in like a cocky way, but just in like a self-confidence, that, okay, this opportunity has arose. They want me to do this. They've asked me to do this. And, I'm appointed to do this in this moment, and I'm going to do my best and crush it. And I wish just my reasoning for doing some of those things would have been different. And then also just like that, I feel like getting a bigger opportunity kind of is a good reminder and makes you rise to the situation, like rise to that opportunity. You all of a sudden, this is like a bigger deal. I should put more into it. Yeah. But I kind of hate that, because we should think that about even the small ones. Yeah. And, thinking that high of driving 2 hours for a $50 gig and,
you got to put the work in. And like you go back to the beginning, you put the work in, you took the small opportunities that turn into other opportunities that turn into bigger opportunities that get you where you get.
Yep. Showing up early, communicating clearly.
Yeah, like, exactly.
All those little details, I think, matter, which people don't. There's way better drummers. There's way cooler people.
Adam didn't call me to play drums.
That's valid.
Right?
Yep.
Why?
Yep. But I think just like leaving a good impression, being trusted and
just
loyal.
Just for the record, I've never played drums. I don't know how to play drums.
I can help you with that if you want. GooseTheDrummer.com,
Yeah, perfect. The plug's at the end. You just got another one in there?
Gotta do, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, so this opportunity, like, it particularly brought a lot of things in me that, like, that I loved, of like driving really hard, of like, I worked really dang hard and researching that. Lighting up the drums was like no easy task. That was like $600 plus 2 months of research, asking all my friends and resources, how the heck do you do this? It's way more complicated than I wish it was. But
I can't even imagine.
That was one. Yeah. So that was one thing.
I mean, back in the 80s, the light up drums.
Yep.
There was like a whole switch of or a whole panel of switches, like light switches.
Dang.
And there was like 4 people there, and they were like,
run it live.
No, I'm kidding.
That'd be ridiculous.
We
could set it up that way.
You could. I don't think the timing would be very good.
No, probably not. Some human timing there.
Yeah.
But it did, like, I tamed myself a little bit of like, okay, I can't say everything that's on my mind all the time, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe a milestone of like, or a rite of passage of maturity. Sure. Of like, okay, as we grow up, I can't say these dumb things and just be crazy. There's a time and place for that, but the task at hand and making sure everyone's all good, like, comes first.
Yeah.
So we did have a lot of fun though. Man, we played all these like iPhone games from our bunks together, and we'd like talk through our mics and stuff.
No way.
Oh, it was hilarious.
I think they used to call those land parties, right?
Oh,
where you'd set up all the TVs and all
I've
the
done
Xboxes.
that with Halo and everything growing up.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Good times. But
very cool.
Yeah, that was a super bonding experience. Just like hanging out and everything was so fun too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's maybe a good segue into what you do now. Like you do drum lessons. Tell me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more than I think just drum lessons too, right?
Yep. So I view my drum lessons as basically in whatever the time slot is, I'm going to use all that time to make the student a better person and a better drummer. But I really do view it almost as like back to the leading by example thing. I want to be a role model. I want to lead by showing them by just how I live my life, and I think that's been a reason that for most of my students. So I know I'm not the best drummer in the world. I'm not going to ever claim to be the best drummer. I don't think hardly anyone is.
But you are Goose the drummer.
That's my name.
At least something.
It's something. But yeah, so I teach for a living right now. I teach drum lessons. I produce music for some other artists, which I've fallen in love with, like producing
you sent me a video, music video, right? Wasn't it?
Probably.
I
forget what I've all.
Yeah. You sent me something that a link to something that you're like, hey, check this out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the artists that I produced that came out with this amazing music video. So, I produce music, teach drum lessons. I play with some bands and whatnot, obviously. And then I'm a music director at my church. It's kind of a glorified name for drummer, but I'm in charge of like transitions. And now that technology is such a big part of playing drums, that's been like, there's a whole technical side to it that I've really enjoyed, like being a part of. And that was another way I could be more than a drummer too, like of being a producer, like for Owl City. It's a very electronic sounding like band music. So I needed samples and no one's going to do that for me, like I got to figure it out and make my own, which was a blast. So, and then I do some like freelance, media stuff with editing videos, and design stuff and all sorts of stuff like that. So
you edited
all over the board right now.
You edited a video. If I can spit that out. Exactly.
Edited,
right. For the event that we did in my hometown, and that I thought that was amazing and had some good compliments on it, and with really quite horrible on my end, horrible equipment.
You don't give yourself enough credit. The equipment doesn't matter. It's the content. It's what actually is happening.
Right.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was an equipment. Like, oh man, I'm going to send this stuff. He's going to be like, oh, this equipment's garbage. We can't deal with that.
No, that's great.
So yeah, you just are multi-talented and things. But so people can see you every week is what you're saying. You drum at a church.
Anytime I'm home, I'll be most likely be at church drumming.
Awesome.
So I love that, and that goes back to why I do things. Why I'm here. I really, that's a family to me there. So
nice.
I love it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So let's plug you, man. How do we get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Yep. Goose the drummer.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Yep.
Yeah.
Goose the drummer. I'm really pursuing my YouTube channal hard, and I put a lot of work and content on my YouTube channel. So it's just youtube.com/Goose the drummer. And I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, on TikTok, on all that. And it's just all Goose the drummer. And then my website's goosethedrummer.com. So
and you're not lonely.
I'm lonely sometimes.
Are you?
Yeah. Yeah,
you got my number.
Everyone's got
dude.
a little bit of that, but I'm surrounded by like an amazing. I have an amazing support system and friends and family and people like you too that I can talk to at any time.
Thanks.
So,
and I just say that because someone's listening, no doubt that they're like, they see people like yourself and they're like, well, he's got it all. right?
No way, man.
Yep.
Yep.
And I love about you that you say that, like, no, I'm still working on it. Here's what I'm working on.
Totally.
And
Yep.
here's what I figured out.
I'm walking
teachable.
on the dark side of the wall sometimes,
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks for being here. It was fun.
Absolutely. Such an honor. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. That was a fun conversation for me.
Such a cool guy.
I walked in his footsteps, just like weeks later in China,
Yes.
of all places.
In China, of all places. I can only imagine the whole experience of that. But what he talks about is just a totally different world.
Yeah.
His perception is really the most interesting part of that whole conversation, because I don't think that we all realize how different cultures are.
Absolutely not. And his age,
Yes.
I think.
I mean, 1993, I'm pretty sure he mentioned.
Right? He is, you mentioned, very off camera, very observant.
Yeah.
He really notices things and soaks them in.
Yes.
That's incredible about him. I've worked with him in the past, and we mentioned that in the podcast, and I toured with him a couple of different times, and not just him specifically, but he was in the band. And he works hard, and I think that's great how he talked about that. These opportunities with Owl City that had happened didn't just happen.
Right.
It wasn't just I'm going to play the lottery or whatever.
You got lucky.
Exactly.
No,
he worked
prepared
hard.
and worked. Yes.
And I'm not going to say what it was, but I also know of opportunities that he turned down. He didn't talk about it, but he turned down opportunities because his long goal was not that.
Yeah.
And so he turned those down, and to be that aware
Right.
at his age is phenomenal. And
Totally.
then that allowed him to do the things that he needed to do to work hard.
Yeah.
And get to where he's at.
And I love that he took the action. He didn't sit around and think about what he was going to do or wait for things to happen. He was just like, here's what I'm doing right now, today, because I know what my goal is, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep doing it until, it serves the opportunity.
Yeah.
That, is going to be the thing that kicks things off. He did not get there by accident or by luck. It was intentional work.
Exactly.
And steps. I
Yeah.
love that recognition of that piece for somebody so young.
Yeah.
To really have that dedication to keep at it.
And he understands the social media aspect about that too, right? Like you mentioned that.
Yeah, he talks about, very much something that just blows my mind as somebody young, but addresses the fact that likes do not equate to love, right? And it sounds so trivial, but it's so true, and people put so much worth in that. But we've mentioned it before in other podcasts. It's a tool, so he talks about the flip side of not putting all of your eggs in one basket in terms of your self-worth, but it is also his connection tool and impact tool as an influencer, in his space and in his sphere of talent.
Right. And the recognition that it's a tool that can be used for something that is good, and recognize where the negative pieces are with it. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So smart.
Let's wrap this up so people can get on with their day or night or morning or whatever it is they're up to right now. So let's ask them what we need to ask them, right?
Where are you going to be on March 5th?
That's a good point. I forgot about that. Goose, the drummer, is going to be there on March 5th.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So
tell 'em,
we're going to make sure to meet up on that for sure. But out at the Castle community, we've got a live podcast coming. That's an awesome opportunity to come see what things are about, but
Let me
connect with people.
clarify something. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
You did.
Live audience.
Live audience. What did I say?
You said live podcast.
Well, yeah. Okay. I
right.
get you.
So, but and the reason I say that is I want people to understand that they're going to be able to watch what's happening.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to be able to see what we're doing and getting cameras ready and all that kind of
We'll have
stuff.
some, come on down.
And we're going to do a Q&A.
Yeah. It'll be totally open, community impact style. We want you there in the room for energy, for comment, feedback.
Participation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's going to be an amazing time. Plus, it's a cool place. Bring a friend. You won't regret it. It's going to be awesome.
No, and we have music, local artists, young local artists that I think she's going to go places.
It's going to be awesome.
Maybe she'll play in, with Goose the drummer someday. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, more action means more opportunity, right?
That's right.
So we learned today.
And hey, follow us.
Yes. Hit that
social
subscribe
media
button
and
wherever you're at listening.
Yep.
That's all it takes.
Yep.
We'll remind you when we're next up.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.